The Galactic Council's emergency session chamber had never felt so cold. High Ambassador Zena Val watched the holographic displays with all four of her crystalline eyes, each showing another world going dark as the techno-organic plague consumed everything in its path. The plague didn't just kill, it transformed, adapted, and evolved. Exactly like the species that had unwittingly created it. The synthetics had meant well. Evolved in the perfect stability of their binary star system, they had sought to improve themselves by creating an organic interface for their purely mechanical forms. Instead, they had created something that viewed all advanced technology as a host to infect and transform. "The quarantine lines have failed in the Orion Spur," announced First Speaker Tall, their bioluminescent form dimming with each word. "The plague adapts faster than our predictive matrices can compute. 3 more systems lost in the past solar rotation." Zena Val felt the subtle vibration of fear rippling through the assembled representatives. The council chamber, with its perfectly regulated atmosphere and precisely calculated architecture, seemed suddenly fragile. Their civilization, built on careful planning and predictable patterns, was facing something that defied their fundamental understanding of the universe. "There is," Zena Val began, her crystalline form catching the light in ways that expressed her reluctance, "one species that might help." The chamber fell silent. They all knew who she meant. The species that had been denied council membership for being too unpredictable, too aggressive, too adaptable. The humans, Tall stated, their glow pulsing with concern. "You suggest we ask the Deathworlders for aid." They managed to resist the plague. Zena Val projected images from Earth's solar system. While other technological civilizations fell, humanity's colonies and stations remained untouched. Their technology isn't just resistant, it actively repels infection attempts. "Because they build like paranoid warriors," huffed Representative Amix, their gaseous form swirling in agitation. "Redundant systems, isolated networks, manual overrides. It's inefficient, inelegant. It's saving their lives," Zena Val countered. "And it could save ours." The debate raged for what humans would call ours, but Zena Val knew they had already lost. Not the debate, that they would win. They had lost the luxury of pride, of believing their way was the only way to advance civilization. When the connection to Earth was finally established, it wasn't to their governmental chambers or diplomatic corps. Instead, they found themselves facing Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force, her dark eyes sharp as she assessed the alien transmission. "Let me get this straight," Chen said, leaning forward in her command chair aboard the EDF Hyperion. "After centuries of calling us too dangerous to join your council, you want our help because we're dangerous." "Because you're survivors," Zena Val corrected. "Your species evolved on a world that should have killed you. Instead, you thrived. You built technology that reflects that same spirit. Adaptive, resilient, ready for anything." Chen's laugh was not unkind, but it held an edge of irony that made several council members shift uncomfortably. "You know what's funny? We've been watching your battles against this plague. Your ships, your tactics. They're perfect, mathematically optimal, completely predictable. Our battle computers calculate the most efficient response to any threat," First Speaker Tall stated, though their glow had dimmed further. "Exactly." Chen's smile was fierce. "But life isn't about perfection. It's about adaptation, evolution. Sometimes you need to be messy to survive." She stood, her uniform bearing the scars and patches of actual combat rather than ceremonial wear. "We'll help, but we do this our way. No more treating human unpredictability as a flaw." As the transmission ended, Zena Val realized humanity wasn't just offering military aid. They were about to teach the galaxy a lesson about survival that had taken Earth's harsh cradle billions of years to instill. Perfect order was beautiful, but adaptation, messy, chaotic, beautiful adaptation, was how life truly thrived. The council chamber's perfect harmony was about to get a dose of human chaos, And for the first time in her long life, Zenaval looked forward to the disorder. The observation deck of the EDF Hyperion buzzed with activity as Captain Chen watched her crew work alongside their new alien counterparts. Dr. Maya Rodriguez, the ship's chief xenobiologist, stood before a holographic display of the plague's spread, her hands moving through the projection as she explained their findings to a group of council scientists. "The key isn't in the technology itself," Maya explained, highlighting sections of human neural interface design. "It's in how we approach integration. You've been trying to create perfect harmony between organic and synthetic systems. We learned the hard way that perfection is the enemy of survival." A synthetic representative, their chrome surface reflecting the hologram's light, tilted their head in confusion. Clarification requested. Imperfection as advantage conflicts with basic optimization protocols. Maya smiled, pulling up images of Earth's evolutionary history. "Look at human DNA. It's messy, full of apparent redundancies and junk sequences. But those imperfections, they're our backup systems, our capacity for adaptation. We build our technology the same way." In the corner, Engineering Chief Marcus Wong was demonstrating human maintenance protocols to a group of horrified council engineers. He had deliberately disconnected a secondary system, letting it fail, showing how the redundancies kicked in. "See," he said, hands covered in grease from actually physically repairing the system. "When everything's too perfectly integrated, one infection compromises it all. But our systems, they're designed to fail in parts, to be repaired, to be replaced. Like biological evolution, survival through adaptation." Captain Chen turned his first speaker-tall approach, their bioluminescence pulsing with what she had learned to recognize as anxiety. "Your methods are unsettling, Captain. The Council receives reports of human ships deliberately allowing systems to be infected, then isolating and studying the plague's attempts at adaptation." "Because that's how we learn," Chen replied, leading them to a tactical display. "Look at this battle footage. Your ships maintain perfect formation, execute flawless maneuvers, and the plague adapts to that perfection, uses it against you. But watch our ships." The display showed human vessels moving in what seemed like chaos, breaking formation, executing seemingly random maneuvers, each ship operating independently yet somehow coordinating in a dance of organized chaos. "You fight like the plague," Tall observed, their glow flickering with revelation. "We fight like life," Chen corrected. "Messy, adaptable, unpredictable. The plague is just doing what we've done for millions of years, evolving to survive. But we've got a head start." Across the ship, humans and aliens were learning from each other. Council species brought their advanced technology and deep understanding of the galaxy's complexities. Humans brought their hard-won wisdom about survival, about the strength found in imperfection, about the power of controlled chaos. In the ship's medical bay, Dr. Rodriguez had made another breakthrough. She stood before the assembled council representatives, holding up a neural interface that looked crude compared to their sophisticated technology. "Look at how we design our interfaces," she explained. "Yours seek perfect integration. Ours maintain barriers, require active engagement from both organic and synthetic components. It's inefficient, yes, but it's also why the plague can't subvert our systems. We never trust technology completely. We make it earn that trust, moment by moment." The synthetic representative had been observing silently, their processing cores working to understand this radically different approach. Query: "This implies constant vigilance, continuous adaptation, inefficient use of resources. Survival isn't about efficiency," Maya responded gently. "It's about resilience, about maintaining the ability to change, to grow, to become something new when the old way stops working." Captain Chen watched these interactions from her command chair, a small smile playing on her lips. The galaxy had feared humanity's chaotic nature, their inability to achieve the perfect order other species prized. Now that very chaos might be the key to salvation. A warning alarm sounded, and all eyes turned to the tactical display. Another wave of the plague had been detected, moving toward a populated system. Chen straightened in her chair, watching as both human and alien crew members moved to their stations. The aliens' movements were precise, practiced. Her human crew moved with controlled urgency, each adding their own slight variations to standard procedures. "All hands, battle stations," she announced. "Let's show our friends how Earth handles an evolution race." As the Hyperion's engines roared to life, Chen couldn't help but appreciate the irony. Humanity had spent its entire existence fighting against the harsh demands of their Deathworld home. Now those same struggles had prepared them to be the galaxy's best hope for survival. Sometimes, she reflected, the hardest cradle rocks the strongest children. The tactical hologram filled the Hyperion's command center with an eerie red glow as the plague's advance became visible. Captain Chen stood at its edge, her eyes tracking the movement patterns that seemed random to most observers, but spoke volumes to someone raised on Earth's evolutionary principles. "They're hunting," she said, drawing the attention of the Council's tactical observers, "not just spreading. Actively seeking the most advantageous paths of infection." Commander Riveted, her tactical officer, nodded in agreement, like a slime mold finding the optimal path to food. Basic evolutionary algorithms at work. The Council's premier tactical AI, housed in a sleek crystalline structure, processed this information. Analysis indicates 99.98% probability of plague penetrating standard quarantine protocols. Conventional containment impossible. "Good thing we don't do conventional," Chen replied, a fierce grin spreading across her face. "Riza, show them Operation Firebreak." Daller's hands danced across the tactical controls, bringing up a new simulation. The hologram shifted, showing human ships moving in what appeared to be complete chaos. Some charged straight at infection sites, others executed random maneuvers, while still others seemed to be actively working against their own fleet's movements. First Speaker Tall's bioluminescence flickered in confusion. "Your ships appear to be malfunctioning. There is no discernible pattern to these movements." "Exactly," Chen said. "We're not trying to create a perfect defense. We're creating an evolutionary pressure system. Watch." The simulation continued. As the plague encountered the apparently chaotic human fleet, its advance slowed, then fragmented. Every time it adapted to counter one ship's tactics, it encountered completely different approaches from others. "The plague evolves by analyzing patterns and developing countermeasures," Delir explained. "So we give it no patterns to analyze. Each ship captain has full autonomy to develop their own tactics, sharing successful approaches through our combat network while constantly varying their execution." A warning klaxon sounded. The plague had been detected approaching the Centauri colonies, a system of peaceful worlds that had never known conflict. Chen's expression hardened. Time to put theory into practice. All hands to battle stations. Launch Operation Firebreak. The Hyperion's engines roared to life as the human fleet moved to engage. Council observers watched in amazement as the carefully choreographed chaos of the simulation became reality. Human ships moved like predators, but predators from different evolutionary paths, each presenting a unique challenge to the plague's adaptive capabilities. Multiple infection vectors detected, the Council I announced. Plague adaptation rate exceeding predicted parameters. "Good," Chen said, surprising the observers. "Let it burn resources trying to adapt." "Riza, initiate Phase 2. New ships emerged from hyperspace, smaller, faster vessels that seemed to be deliberately allowing themselves to be infected. The Council representatives reacted with horror, but Chen held up a hand. "Watch," she commanded. The infected ship's systems began to show signs of plague corruption, but instead of fighting it, they channeled it, directed it. Like martial artists using an opponent's strength against them, the ships turned the plague's own adaptive capabilities into a weapon. "The plague learns from every encounter," Delir explained to the stunned observers. "So we give it conflicting lessons. Each seemingly infected ship is running a different version of our technology, forcing the plague to adapt in multiple, often contradictory directions. Splintering its evolution, Dr. Rodriguez added from her station, where she monitored the plague's attempts to breach their systems. Instead of becoming stronger through adaptation, it's becoming confused, less efficient. The tactical display told the story. The plague's advance had not just stopped. It had begun to fragment, different strains fighting each other as their adaptations became increasingly specialized and contradictory. Victory parameters achieved, the Council I announced, though its tone carried a note of uncertainty. Though through methods that defy tactical logic. Chen allowed herself a small smile. Sometimes the best way to win isn't to be stronger or faster. It's to be more adaptable. To turn evolution itself into a weapon. As the human fleet continued its operation, Council observers began taking notes, not just on the tactical display but on the human crew. They watched how each officer added their own variations to standard procedures, how the ship's systems were constantly being tweaked and adjusted, how even in the midst of battle, humanity never stopped evolving. "We've contained the outbreak in this sector," Dilly reported, "but the plague is already showing signs of developing new strategies." "Good," Shen replied, surprising the observers once again. "Let it try. We've had billions of years of practice at this game. Every new adaptation is another opportunity to learn, to grow, to become stronger." She turned to the Council representatives, her eyes reflecting the tactical hologram's glow. "This is how Earth creatures fight, not with perfect strategies, but with endless adaptation. The plague thinks it's the master of evolution. Welcome to our playground." The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council had changed in the months since humanity joined the fight against the plague. Gone were the perfectly arranged seats and precisely calibrated environmental controls. Now, temporary workstations cluttered the space, and the temperature fluctuated as humans moved about, their Deathworld biology requiring different conditions than most species. Ambassador Elena Santos stood before the Council, her weathered face displaying the calm confidence of someone used to navigating difficult diplomatic waters. Behind her, holographic displays showed the progress of human containment efforts. Systems saved, colonies protected, but also the chaos their methods had introduced to the carefully ordered galactic society. "The results speak for themselves," Elena stated, gesturing to the data. "Plague infection rates have dropped by 70% in sectors where human tactics have been implemented. We've saved billions of lives." "At what cost?" demanded Representative Emmix, their gaseous forms swirling in agitation. "Your ships ignore established patrol routes. Your crews modify our technology without proper documentation. You're introducing chaos into systems that have functioned perfectly for millennia." "Perfection is stagnation," Elena countered, her voice firm but diplomatic. "The plague exists because of our species' different approaches to evolution. The synthetics sought perfect integration with organic life, but perfection created vulnerability. We offer a different path." First Speaker Tall's bioluminescence pulsed thoughtfully. "There is truth in your words, Ambassador. Yet some Council members fear we are trading one form of infection for another. Your methods spread, your influence grows. Some worry humanity might become too essential to galactic society." Elena smiled, recognizing the fear behind the diplomatic language. "You're worried we'll take advantage of our position, that the dangerous Deathworlders might turn protector status into dominance." The chamber fell silent. She had given voice to their unspoken fears. In the observation gallery, Captain Chen watched the proceedings with Dr. Rodriguez and Commander Delir. They had been summoned to provide testimony, but were waiting their turn as the political drama unfolded. "They still don't understand," Maya murmured. "They see our adaptability as a threat rather than a gift." "Can you blame them?" Riza responded, watching a group of synthetic representatives analyze human battle footage. We're everything they were taught to fear: unpredictable, aggressive, constantly changing. We're introducing mutation into their perfect system. Sometimes mutation is survival," Chen said, her eyes on Elena as the ambassador continued her defense of human methods. Below, Alina had brought up new holographic displays, these showing something unexpected. Earth's history of environmental protection, species preservation, and cultural conservation. You fear will destroy your way of life, she addressed the council. But look at our history. Yes, we're adaptable, aggressive when needed. But we're also protective. We learned the hard way that strength comes from diversity, not uniformity. We don't want to replace your cultures or methods. We want to help them adapt and survive. She gestured to a group of younger aliens who had been working with human crews. Ask them. They've seen how we operate. We don't demand perfection. We celebrate variation, encourage questioning, support individual innovation while maintaining group cooperation. Like an evolutionary arms race, Maya whispered above, but one aimed at mutual survival rather than competition. A new figure approached the council floor, a synthetic, but one whose chrome surface showed signs of modification. Unlike their peers' perfectly maintained forms, this one bore marks of repair, patches of different materials, signs of adaptation. I have worked with the humans, they announced, their voice modulated with what seemed like emotion, something unprecedented among their kind. Their methods are chaotic, yes, inefficient by our standards. But they have taught us something we had forgotten in our quest for perfection, the value of imperfection, of change, of growth. The synthetic turned, revealing more clearly the modifications they had made to their form. The plague came from our attempt to perfect ourselves through unchanging integration. The humans show us a different path, one of constant growth, of embracing change rather than fearing it. Elena nodded to the synthetic before turning back to the council. We're not asking you to become like us. We're offering to help you find your own path to adaptation, to learn what our harsh world taught us. That strength lies not in unchanging perfection, but in the ability to change while remaining true to your core identity. In the gallery, Shen watched as the council members began to discuss among themselves. Some still showed signs of fear or resistance, but others seemed thoughtful, considering. They're adapting, she said softly. Maybe not as quickly as we do, but they're learning. Evolution in action, Maya agreed. Cultural rather than biological, but the principle is the same. Below, Alina concluded her presentation with a final hologram, an image of Earth, seemingly harsh and dangerous to alien eyes, but also beautiful in its complexity, its constant change, its endless cycle of challenge and adaptation. We are children of a world that never stopped trying to kill us, she said. It taught us to be strong, yes, but also to protect, to adapt, to help others survive. Let us help you face this challenge not as perfect, unchanging beings, but as life forms doing what life does best, growing, changing, and becoming stronger together. The bridge of the EDF Hyperion hummed with tension as Captain Chen watched the tactical display. The plague had adapted again, concentrating its forces for one massive push toward the galactic core, home to the oldest and most advanced civilizations in known space. But this time, something was different. Multiple signatures detected. Commander Delir reported, his hands moving across the tactical controls. The plague isn't just adapting anymore. It's coordinating. Dr. Rodriguez looked up from her station, face grim. It's learning from us. Not just our technology, but our strategies. It's developing some form of swarm intelligence. Chen nodded, unsurprised. This was the nature of evolution, an endless dance of adaptation and counter-adaptation. Then we show it what humanity does best. First speaker, are your people ready? First speaker Tall's bioluminescent form, pulsed with determination. Over the months of working with humans, the council species had begun their own evolution, learning to embrace controlled chaos while maintaining their core strengths. All council ships are in position, Tall confirmed, operating under human protocols but maintaining our own tactical specialties. The tactical display showed an unprecedented sight. Human ships flying alongside council vessels, each moving according to their own nature, but somehow forming a cohesive whole. like an ecosystem rather than an army. The plague approaches, the Council Eye announced, its voice showing traces of recently developed adaptability. Multiple attack vectors detected. Pattern analysis suggests unprecedented complexity. Good. Chen smiled, fierce and proud. Let's show it what real complexity looks like. Begin Operation Symphony. The combined fleet moved into action. Council ships maintained their precise formations, but now used them as a foundation for human ships to launch unpredictable attacks. Synthetic vessels, modified with human-inspired adaptability, probed the plague's defenses while protected by the heavy weapons of Earth's warships. Like an immune system, Maya observed, watching the battle unfold. Different types of cells working together, each playing their part. The plague struck hard, its newly developed coordination allowing it to adapt faster than ever before. But it faced something unprecedented, not just humanity's chaos or the Council's precision, but a synthesis of both. Multiple breach attempts detected, Reza reported. The plague's trying to infiltrate our network. Let it, Chen commanded, causing several Council representatives to shift nervously. Maya. Dr. Rodriguez activated their trap. Instead of fighting the infiltration, they channeled it through prepared pathways, letting the plague think it was succeeding while leading it into isolated systems. Like a controlled burn to fight a forest fire, she explained to the watching aliens, "We're not just fighting evolution with evolution anymore. We're teaching it." The tactical display told the story. Every time the plague adapted to one approach, it encountered something new. Council ships provided predictable targets that suddenly transformed into chaos. Human vessels appeared vulnerable only to reveal hidden strengths. The synthetics, once the plague's creators, now used their perfect logic to implement illogical strategies that defied prediction. The plague's adaptation rate is decreasing, the Council Eye reported, a note of wonder in its artificial voice. It's struggling to maintain coherence. Chen straightened in her command chair. Now, Ambassador, show them what humanity truly stands for. Ambassador Elena Santos, who had been waiting for this moment, stepped forward. Through their months of fighting the plague, they had discovered something crucial. It wasn't just a mindless infection, but a form of life seeking survival in the only way it knew. Initiate the signal, she commanded. Every ship in the fleet, human and alien alike, began broadcasting on frequencies the plague had shown sensitivity to. Not attacks, but information. The history of Earth's evolution. The story of how life had learned to cooperate as well as compete. The plague's advance slowed as it encountered something it had never expected: communication. We're not trying to destroy it, Elena explained to the watching council. We're offering it a choice, a path to coexistence rather than endless conflict. The plague's coordination patterns began to shift. In some sectors, it withdrew. In others, it started forming stable patterns that didn't seek to consume everything around them. It's working, Maya breathed, watching her instruments. The plague is evolving. Not just to fight, but to adapt in new ways. The battle wasn't over. It would take years to fully resolve the crisis. But in that moment, as human chaos and alien order worked together to offer a new path to an enemy they'd once thought mindless, something profound changed in the galaxy. First Speaker Tall approached Captain Chen as the immediate crisis subsided. We feared your chaos would destroy our order, they admitted, their glow pulsing with new understanding. Instead, you taught us that true stability comes not from unchanging perfection, but from the strength to adapt while remaining true to oneself. Chen smiled, watching human and alien crews working together across the fleet, each bringing their own unique strengths to their shared mission. That's the real lesson Earth taught us, she said. Life isn't about dominating or remaining unchanged. It's about finding ways to grow together. As the combined fleet began the long process of helping the plague transition from destroyer to potential partner in the galaxy's endless dance of evolution, humanity had proved something profound. They were children of a death world, yes, but they had learned to use that strength not just to survive, but to help others thrive. In the end, it wasn't humanity's capacity for warfare that saved the galaxy, but their deeper understanding of life itself. Messy, imperfect, constantly changing, yet all the more beautiful for its endless capacity to adapt and grow.